I almost fell over from shock when we saw that video. Do you remember? It was a total bombshell. We had no idea it even existed. All it takes, Nancy, is one small, unexpected twist, right? Something we're not fully aware of, and suddenly, boom, the whole story changes completely. There's a timeline. It's impossible that after 80 days they haven't managed to pinpoint him at that exact spot. Just 1 mile, within that radius, and somehow they still haven't caught him. And I think with all that planning, he dodged the cameras. He knew how to avoid being seen by them. Cheryl, I hear you. There are still thousands of hours of video recovered from both public and private sources. That review continues to be a pretty tedious effort. But what they're focusing on right now is finding a vehicle at the precise place and time. He avoided every one of those security cameras. So how did he not know that his porch camera was working? Honestly, I don't think he cared. Because again, he's in no rush. He knows he's covered, and that there's no link to her. Footage, fresh eyes on old evidence, and a route map that Nancy Guthrie's daughter believes he used. A map that up until now has gotten far less attention than it really deserves. The last visual record of Nancy Guthrie before she vanished comes from a ride that brought her home. An Uber or similar service that picked her up at her daughter Annie's house to drop her off at her residence. Hours later, someone would come in through the back door to take her. That ride, depending on the vehicle model, could contain data that goes way beyond a simple log of the route taken. Front cameras, rear cameras, and black box data showing every stop, turn, and trunk opening. And most critically, what was visible through the windshield and windows during the trip. Parked cars. People walking, anything positioned along the route that shouldn't have been there at that hour of the night. There's reason to believe the kidnapper was already in the neighborhood waiting when Nancy got home. The surveillance video from January 11th shows the same individual at her door weeks before the abduction. The videos from January 20th and 30th suggest more visits. Someone who staked out the property carefully. If his pattern held the night of the crime, he was already there when the car pulled into the driveway. I froze when we got that recording. Do you remember? It was something nobody saw coming in this case. We didn't know it existed. Nancy, all it takes is one twist of fate to change everything right. Something we completely overlooked, and suddenly, boom, the whole narrative of the crime flips 180 degrees. A plot twist. That phrase resonates because every major break in this mystery has come exactly that way. Suddenly, from an unexpected angle. The doorway video that the sheriff's office said didn't exist. Nancy didn't have an active subscription until the FBI found the footage on Google's servers. DNA confirmed weeks after the initial forensic exam that there were traces of an unknown individual with no matches. And now new investigators are analyzing videos that have been in the chain of custody from the very beginning. Annie Guthrie, Nancy's daughter, shared a map with her neighbors in a group chat right when it all began. The map traces the route she believes the captor used to escape after taking Nancy. The path goes past Lulu Walker Elementary School and the Green Toes North Massage Parlor. The Circa 79 salon places with potential security camera coverage. The elementary school alone has multiple cameras at the corners with overlapping fields of view. The nail salon has a front camera pointing directly at the parking lot and the main road. It was renovated by specialists, which suggests they have pretty modern security systems. Even so, after 80 days of investigation, no suspicious vehicle has been publicly identified yet. Nor has any footage been released of a car leaving the area during the key window of the crime. A forensic expert with thousands of cases in Atlanta pointed out this paradox in a very direct, blunt way. At 1:27 a.m., the suspect is at the door. By 2:29 a.m., Nancy's pacemaker disconnects from her Apple Watch. There's a window, and within that window, at 2 or 3 in the morning, the traffic is practically non-existent. How is it possible that no camera caught him? Maybe the answer is in the terrain. The Catalina foothills in Tucson aren't a simple street grid. At almost any point along the road, a driver can take a sharp turn and disappear into stretches of open desert. It's a vast, underdeveloped landscape, perfect for a vehicle to move through while avoiding camera-monitored intersections. The suspect planned everything in detail after multiple recon visits, mapping out a route that avoided every fixed security camera. If you want to keep up with how this new material is being analyzed, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Because in this criminal case, every new update has completely changed what we thought we knew today. There's a clear timeline. After 80 days, it's impossible they can't track him within a 1-mile radius and finally catch him. And I think with all that planning, he managed to evade those surveillance cameras. You know, he dodged those cameras. Cheryl, what am I hearing here? But if the suspect avoided every road camera on his way out, why did he forget the one camera that actually mattered? The one at Nancy's front door. A forensic investigator suggests a theory that completely rules out incompetence. It's not that he forgot. He just didn't care. He was completely covered and concealed, making it impossible to identify his facial features. There was no link to the victim that could be traced solely through that grainy image. After more than 80 days, no one has identified him in the video. The suspect's cold calculation has paid off so far. What changes in the January 30th video, compared to the previous visits, is that now he's carrying a weapon in a backpack. That day, he showed up ready for the job. Before it was pure recon, the final visit was for the execution. The fact that only one individual appears on the cameras across multiple dates makes us seriously question whether there's actually any accomplice involved. If two people were involved, why is only one of them visible the whole time? Meanwhile, an investigative journalist compared Nancy Guthrie's map with a vehicle picked up by a doorbell camera, about 2.5 miles from Nancy's house on a side road that wasn't on the map. When you overlay the map with the camera's location, that road fits perfectly as a logical connection point. That vehicle had previously been ruled out by the local sheriff's office. Whether it deserves another look after analyzing the route is a question the new investigators are trying to answer right now. There are still thousands of hours of public and private recordings to review. It's an extremely tedious process that's still underway. But the main goal is to locate a vehicle that was at the exact place and time of the crime. They're still going through thousands of hours of video from public, private, and residential cameras, even from local businesses in the area. The review is slow and meticulous. The focus is very clear: find a car at the right place and the right time. Not just the night of the abduction, but also during the dates when the prior visits took place. January 11th, January 20th, and January 30th. If the same vehicle shows up near the neighborhood on the dates that match the suspect, identifying it will be much easier. Nancy Guthrie's car, a blue Honda CR-V seized during the investigation, could contain very valuable information. Honda CR-V SUVs, depending on the trim, have navigation systems that log absolutely every trip taken. The black box records whether the vehicle moved, what time it moved, and the exact route it followed. If investigators need to rule out anyone with access to the vehicle that night, the navigation data would be the key. The data would show whether the car stayed put after dropping Nancy off, or whether it went somewhere else. Comparing this case with others is very revealing. In the Brian Koberger case, a white Hyundai Elantra caught within a 20-mile radius was the first public break. In the Molly Tibbetts case, the markings on the suspect's car led directly to identifying him. In the Caitlin Armstrong case, an SUV circling the crime scene before and after was the decisive piece of evidence. In every one of these cases, the vehicle was the thread that ended up unraveling the entire hidden plot. In the Nancy Guthrie case, that car hasn't surfaced, or if they have already found it, they haven't released it. A retired FBI agent mentioned that the police will only release information that's strictly necessary to share. The fact that there's no public ID of the car doesn't mean they don't have it. The FBI isn't a news agency. Public investigations and trials by media are very different things. The information that comes out at trial could include vehicle data saved from the very start of the investigation. Sheriff Nanos's deadline has expired. He was required to answer the Board of Supervisors' questions under official oath. According to reports, his response wasn't delivered as a sworn statement. The board now has to decide whether that violates the statute that governs them and whether they should start proceedings for his immediate removal. Meanwhile, a recall petition keeps gathering signatures to reach the threshold of 122,000 people. The case isn't closed. New investigators are now reviewing every piece of evidence from the very start of the mystery. The FBI controls the timing, not the perpetrator of the crime. Somewhere among the thousands of hours of unreviewed footage between residential cameras, businesses, and rideshare vehicles, there could be a single frame that shows a vehicle that shouldn't have been in that neighborhood at that hour. A plot twist. That's all it takes. Nancy Guthrie is still missing. 84 years old. A mother torn from her own bed in the middle of the night. Blood on the porch, her pacemaker disconnected at 2:29 in the morning, medications untouched, and a map drawn by her daughter. A trail through schools, salons, and intersections where the cameras may have caught what no one has been able to find yet in the investigation. The vehicle that took her. If you have any information, contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or send tips to tips.fbi.gov. The current reward is over $1,200,000. No conviction or arrest is required to claim it. This story is just beginning. Subscribe now, because in this case, every new lead changes everything we thought we knew. This analysis is based on public sources and is intended for informational and awareness purposes for our audience. It does not represent official conclusions. Every person mentioned is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. We recommend consulting independent sources to get a complete perspective on this case.